Morning, everybody. Once again, Paul Sykes again from Nouveau. I'm accompanied by Richard and Greg, the LogRhythm experts, and thank you for joining us this morning, and also some of the Nouveau team. But firstly, thank you for those that have joined the webinar in the first instance to learn a little bit more about LogRhythm. Which is thinking about protecting against today's threat landscape and the requirement for a broad and deep visibility across that entire IT environment. We've got Richard, who's going to take us through the relevance of LogRhythm and what that provides as that sort of unique combination of enterprise class solution that LogRhythm represents through the threat lifecycle, security intelligence platform, and then the day in the life of an analyst, and take us through a demonstration. If I can just caveat, if you have any thoughts, ideas, questions, if we just allow Richard to take us through the webinar, and then once we complete the webinar, we'll then catch up with you on an individual basis, but still have access to our good selves, including Richard, to do so. So if I can just introduce Richard, if I may. Richard, very experienced in LogRhythm. He's going to talk through the LogRhythm Security Intelligence Platform. And it's more of an overview with some slightly deeper dives into the technology as a solution. But there is the opportunity, as I've indicated, to follow up with further more detailed questions that's specific to your respective organisation. So thank you, Richard, and over to you.
Yep, thanks, Paul. So yeah, Richard Ferrier. I'm one of the sales engineers here at LogRhythm. So today, really, I wanted to take you firstly through a little bit about why LogRhythm does what it does. Today, it's widely accepted that security breaches are inevitable. If you listen to the old FBI director that said, famously said once, that there's two types of companies in America: those that have been hacked by the Chinese and those that don't know. So we understand they are going to get in. And since 2003, LogRhythm has been helping our customers detect and prevent breaches in their own environments, be that inside or outside a threat. And certainly the threat factor has increased as the complexity of threats has evolved over the years, but LogRhythm has also evolved with those threats, which makes us now one of the leading next generation security intelligence platforms. So if we look back, this is a PwC survey. We can see 66% compounded growth in detected incidents. So these are the ones that we're seeing. So really, where are we going in this year and next year? And if we also look at all those breaches that were detected for this Verizon report, we can find that 84% of the actual breach evidence was actually hiding in the log data. The famous one was Target. They actually found they had been breached in the log data but failed to do anything about it. They didn't match the data together. They didn't correlate it correctly to actually understand, even though they had that data with them. And also, Gartner seem to think that by 2020, 60% of security budgets will be allocated for rapid detection and response approaches. So rather than providing your layers of security to protect people getting in, this is actually detecting people once they've actually managed to get in. So the LogRhythm message really is all about faster detection, faster response. Therefore, we can reduce the risk, we can reduce the cost, and actually be a saving to your enterprises. Time to identify and contain a breach does affect the cost. If you can rapidly detect a breach on your network, inside or outside, then obviously the response will be quicker because it wouldn't have spread so far, and you're saving on those resources to go out and fix everything on that network. So mean time to detect is a very important factor, and having visibility in the network, being able to collect all those logs from everything that's out there in the infrastructure, being able to make sense of those logs, and it's millions of logs per day, so it has to be done by a form of technology. Bubbling up the interesting facts to the surface, the things that are unknown as well, which is the important thing. I mean, the security devices out there, you've still got to have them, the firewalls, your IDS, your AV, that pick up all the known either vulnerabilities or threats, and they'll be around for years and we'll still need those. But something like a LogRhythm security platform is picking up the additional information, the unknowns. And then there's also the actual mean time to respond. So if you can respond to that threat quicker, then obviously the recovery is going to be easier. The average sort of mean time to detect is around about 200 plus days. By having correct security controls in place, by having correct policy, and by having a product that provides that visibility, you can reduce those 200 days, hopefully to weeks, days, hours, even down to minutes for some of the threats you're seeing. So we talk about kill chain, and mean time to detect, mean time to respond actually helps break that kill chain. Now we may see some reconnaissance going on a firewall within the platform. We may see the initial compromise, but if it's an unknown threat, unknown vulnerability, really where LogRhythm comes in is to stop once that initial compromise has happened. So early neutralization. Break any chains to any command and control networks, stop any movement within the network, stop any threat actually reaching their target, and stop any data maybe leaving or damage appearing in the network. So the platform itself, it's built and over the years has grown since 2003 from log management to security incident and event management. We've added threat intelligence, vulnerability intelligence, so the use of the endpoint and the network analytics piece. The whole holistic analytics, and I'll go into these a little bit deeper in a few more slides. And we've also added things like incident management, so we have a workflow, so we can pull in the people, the process, and we can collaborate the information that's within the LogRhythm platform. So the platform itself has been awarded many awards. We are a Gartner top right leader, so well respected within the industry as a product. And how the product is built up has actually enabled us to actually score very highly in some recent tests. So for critical capabilities, LogRhythm is scoring much above the competition for either its product or its service side in compliance, threat management, and for overall security intelligence and event management. So it's made, the platform's made really up of three main areas. We have inputs, we have the analytics piece, the main engine, and then we have an output. And then between the analytics and the output, really we have our LogRhythm Labs, which is our research and intelligence unit that provide all the content for the product. So I just want to take these three areas and break them down slightly just to explain what we do as a product and how that can help you. So on the input side of things, it's very important to be able to collect as many logs as possible. So we can collect logs from security systems, your firewalls, your IPS, your AV. We can also take system logs from maybe your Windows, your Linux, mainframe, so all those operating system side of things. Application logs, so any application you're using, putting that in. Flow data from the network, audit logs. So basically anything that's in a human readable format that we can take in and digest will give us greater visibility across your enterprise. But the LogRhythm platform can go one step further. We can actually generate our own forensic data on the network, which is useful for the correlation of events that we're seeing. So we can collect data from workstation servers, security devices, but we can also, if required, deploy agents. Now that may be to key services, key servers, key workstations, or for compliance needs. And the endpoint monitoring client enables us to be able to do things like file integrity monitoring. So who changed a file, who touched a file, who deleted a file. Again, with the registry as well. Are there anything being added to the registry of these devices that we don't know about? We can monitor the processes that are running. Have we had any suspicious processes start up since we came in this morning? We can blacklist, whitelist the processes. What are these machines that we're looking at with the agent? Where are they connecting within the network? And we can get additional user activity that's going on as well, so we can be very precise on which user is on which machine at what time. And then if we look at the network side of things, a lot of threats are actually seen on the wire. So with our network monitoring product, we can do deep packet inspection, the application ID, so we can discover around about 2,700 different applications now that are traveling across the network in various ways, not just looking at ports, we're looking at signatures, we're looking at applications that are using their the ports that they shouldn't be using and still being able to identify that application. We can look at the whole network traffic right up to layer 7. We can apply deep packet analytics to that as well. So we have some DPA rules that we can run that is discovering what's in that traffic. And we can also do packet capture. Now we can do full packet capture of the whole sessions, or we have something called smart capture as well, where we're only capturing what we need for the SIM, what we need to push back in for our intelligence side of it. So it may be monitoring traffic to and from key services. It could be that something in the LogRhythm SIM platform has raised an alarm, an alert, an incident is kicked off, and then we can automatically tell the network monitor product to start recording traffic at that stage from that area of the network. So we've got forensic data then to go back to and look at and find out what happened, why it happened, and what was the outcome. Now, once that traffic reaches the analytics engine within the platform, there's some key important things that we do first to that. Obviously, time normalization. If you're a global company, then we can make sure that everything's coming in, all the log data is arriving at the correct time, so it goes in the correct order, and we can apply the correct correlation to that data. If we're using agents as well, there is a way of making sure that the time on those devices isn't drifting off as well, and we can correct that time, so we ensure that all the log data is the exact time. When we receive that log data, we perform data classification on it. So this is normalizing the data into a language that the platform understands that we can write rules. So a failed authentication on say a Windows box or a Unix box or a firewall will come to us as a failed authentication. So we can look at all failed authentications across the whole business to work out what's going on. So if we saw something like 10 failed authentications followed by a successful one, we may seem to think that and maybe alert that as a suspected brute force attack that's been successful. Of the log data that comes in as well, we also extract and tag the data for faster searching. Version 7 saw us move to the new Elasticsearch backend, so we have now a true big data platform to be able to push all that data to, push all that metadata and that tagging into as well for rapid searching, free text searching as well. And then as we're processing that data, we can actually add threat and risk contextualization to the devices or to the entities on our network. So we may say, okay, our finance server is high risk, so therefore if you see anything here, please prioritize the alarms. Or we can say our web server being in our DMZ is a greater threat because the security policy there is lower. So we can make adjustments to the devices that we have in the network to be able to have the analysts or the security team being able to react faster to those that are maybe of more concern. Once that data has been processed and we've got it into our engine, now millions of events per day coming in for most customers, billions for some. There is only one way of actually being able to sort of use that data, and that's by applying machine learning to it. The technology must do a lot of the work. You wouldn't be able to do it just by a team of analysts sitting there looking at it because there's far too much data. And also with machine learning, what we can actually do is things as your company grows over time or your data increases, we can set baselines to do statistical analysis on that, which actually grow over time, so you're not alerting on false positive. It knows that you're getting more data in, it knows that there's more logs coming in, so it can adjust itself and starts to learn about the baselines within your network. The user side of things, we can do things like behavioural profiling. So an example here could be a team of developers are sitting for 2 weeks and they're just attaching themselves to 5 development boxes, and then towards the end of this time period, we've seen one of the developers suddenly start stretching out to other servers within the infrastructure. So that could be an example of behavioural profile for the users. We can do standard whitelisting and blacklisting of what we allow and don't allow within the work for quite easy rules. But then the main piece really is the advanced cross-device correlation that we provide. Pulling all that log data together, 1 + 1 = 3 type sums that we provide. And then when it comes to the analytic stage, obviously I've talked earlier about the unstructured search with the Elasticsearch backend now, so we can just do free type, Google-like searching within there. But we can also do contextual searching. So we have, and I'll show you in the demo, basically you can just say, okay, I want to look at privileged users, and it already has those lists of those users within privileged users to say, so it makes searching a lot quicker. The whole product is visualized within a very nice web front end, and within there, simple click, drill down, and we can pivot on the data, and I'll go through that during the demo. And then really the output, the important part of what comes out of our solution. So risk prioritize alarms. So 0 to 100, which alert should I be looking at first? Some of it is just informational. It's good to know. It's handy for forensics. It's handy for looking at maybe after the effect. But we want to know what's happening now, and what's important to me. So we provide that in a very graphical way to show the system admins or the security admins exactly what they should be working on. And that's all delivered in real-time dashboards. And of course, we can actually just run reports on all that data as well. And then if we have an incident, then we have the whole workflow management piece where we can raise a case. We can store all that information about that case in what we call the evidence locker. And we can also track how well those cases are being managed. And then another important part is the automated response side of things. Where we can actually have a two-way integration with the devices out there to actually add some reactive security. So that may be disabling a user account, that may be changing a firewall policy, that may be removing a device from the network. And as I said earlier, all that's underpinned by our LogRhythm labs, the research and the intelligence part. Additionally, what LogRhythm can provide as part of the product, they're not additional, they're actually all included, are compliance packs. So these are templates to be used, so things like GPG 13, PCI DSS, the ISO 27001 are more of the UK side of things, but and SOX. So it's a global company, so we have global compliance, and that's, as I said, all included in the product. And on top of the compliance modules, we have some additional modules that again are just included in the product. Once you're a customer, you can just download each of these modules from our support site to provide a greater sort of a threat detection capability. We take also feeds from third-party intelligence feeds. Now, whether they're the commercial ones, so the likes of ThreatStream, which is now Anomaly, WebRoot, CrowdStrike, but we can also take in the freeware, open source feeds as well into our threat intelligence service that is provided on the platform. So I'd like to just take you through a quick demo now of the platform, so just bear with me. Okay, so this would be the main dashboard that a security analyst would see. You can have it either on a SOC wall, it could be in night mode. If people don't like the dark, we can also change it to a much more brighter one, but I prefer the dark mode of it. Just put that back to night mode. And these various dashboards can be altered, changed. They're just widget-based. You can move the things around, resize, and then we have a selection of them that people can actually pick and choose. Anything with the group logo is available publicly to any of the users of the system. And then if you wanted to, you can actually add your own private dashboards as well. So each analyst can have their own designed view of what they're looking at within the platform. Things like compliance side of things, we can put up the compliance remits and show data there real time. Or in this case, this is just an overview of an executive dashboard, just showing exactly what's going on at a very high level. The important thing really within the platform though is the information that we're going to get out of it, as in the alarms. Now I'm going to go through a quick example that we ran last week at InfoSec. So I've just gone back 7 days because I know I've got the data in there because it was last week. So I'll just scroll down the list a bit. Okay. So what we had set up really was a phishing email that was coming in to one of our workstations. When the user clicked on that link, then obviously the software started to install on the machine, and it was basically a ransomware attack. And what we were seeing was a new auto-run registry key being added using the registry integrity monitoring. We saw a suspicious process startup, and we also saw some lots of file transfers being taken. That all added up really to be provide that we saw some ransomware behaviour. And if we look at the rule here, over on the right here, we have a breakdown of what that rule is doing, and we also have a smart response action included in this rule. So this is what I was talking about earlier. So the smart response itself that was run was kill the process using alternative credentials. So we could log onto that box and kill that suspicious process on there that started up. And there was also a second smart response that was actually requiring an authorization. So the first one was automatic. It just did it, killed the process, stopped the ransomware being installed. May have been a little bit, ransomware installs very, very quickly. So the faster you can get to it, the less files are affected. It may have started encrypting, but it didn't spread to the network. We killed the process. We stopped the threat. The second smart response here was to actually start extracting data for forensic capabilities to search to find out what happened, but also to lock down and quarantine that machine off the network. So we ran PS Recon and also just turned the NIC off on it once we got the data off. But that needed approval, so we had to go to someone and say, yeah, I need to approve that. So the smart response itself is quite clever, that either it can just be automatic or approved, or it can be time-based. So we could say during the working hours, we don't really want to knock people off the network. Yeah, we'll stop the process, but do we really want to take people out of their work? But during the weekends or out of hours, we could actually say, let's run the smart response automatically to take this machine off the network. We know there's no one should be breaking here, so that's what we do. And we can actually drill down into that data as well. So the top level ransomware alarm that came up, if we drill down, we now just can search, we can pull back that data, and we can now analyze that data directly in the actual web GUI. So we get details about the host that was impacted. We've got information about the user. We can actually pull up the log data itself. So here is the log data that concerned all that detail. So if we just click on some of that log data at the moment, we can actually see how we normalize that data. So this is how we pulled that data out, how we've normalized it. We can actually look at the actual log message itself, and then if we have any inferred history. So this is people that we've seen on that actual workstation over time. So we can work that. Okay, we've got a username of here, Thomas Duran. So we can see he was there on the machine, but we've also had other users on the machine. So had the attack been delayed, excuse me, it may have not been that user that actually got the infection. It could have been maybe the user of that machine. But to check that sort of thing, what we can actually do is we can do things like a pivot. So we know the username, so we can actually start searching, okay, what did that user do 2 hours before, and what has that user done 2 hours since? And we can run a search basically on that user, or we can run a search on that workstation that same familiar way. So it all helps with the actual mean time to response reduction. So we can see else has that user picked up the phishing email in his Hotmail account, has he moved to another workstation, has he clicked on the same email again. So just being able to find that additional data to be able to track down and neutralize that threat. Now, once we know that it's actually a true incident, if I go back to my alarms, we can open a case. So I'm a security analyst, and now I want to be able to open a case for that. So here's my case. I put the logs in. Just close that window down. And here's my case here. So suspected malware with callback. In here, I can start adding notes. Useful for if we were going to be transferring the calls around. I can add files in there, so I can add maybe a PCAP file that we've seen in the network and pull down from NetMonitor, screenshots, everything else. So this all goes into our what we class as our evidence locker. Everything about that call is all included in one thing. We can have tags for it. So if we want to tag it, there's some built-in tags, or you can create your own. It just makes it a little bit easier when you're searching on data. Has anybody else had a ransomware attack in the last 7 days? We can just search on those tags within the cases. And then once we've opened the case, obviously, we can actually take that through different steps. So incident first thing, then we can actually move it to, as we fix it, we can move it to mitigated, and then we can move it to resolved, and then the case will be closed. So we've got that full sort of life cycle there with it. The cases themselves, you can either have, we can do case metrics on it as well, so we can see very easily how fast we're closing. So this is how we actually measure the mean time to respond side of things as well. And then you can have a list of all your open cases, open incidents, and pass those cases amongst the security team as well. Just going to click jump across to reports. So we can just generate reports directly from the web GUI as well. So these are normally daily or summary reports, summary alarms, more to pass up to see how you've been doing over the days or weeks. But we can also do reports on particular users, particular machines. So anything data in the back end, we can run a report on. And if we just wanted to do searching, it's probably easier to go. We have save searches, so these are standard searches that we might run. So you can have searches, you can have just your own personal save searches, but the quick way to do a search, top right hand side, we can actually just pick, okay, user is, and this is the sort of structured searching, so we can say, okay, they are part of our ISO 27001 shared account list, so we can just search on that, so that's the sort of structured side of it. Or if we wanted to do a bit more of the unstructured search, we could just start searching for people's names and so forth, and then just run that search to pull that information back. And again, we can choose time frames, we can choose which logs we're searching on, which entities these users have been in, or we can do a search across the whole piece. Let me just go back to the dashboard. So really, that's an overview of a day in the life of an analyst. I don't know if anyone's got any questions at this stage. Paul will be taking questions.
Yes, I think if you do have any questions, fire away. But if not, we'll catch up with those people that have joined us on the webinar with the Nouveau guys to follow up on a different call or face-to-face as required. But yes, has anybody got any questions that they want to ask? That's the forefront of their mind at the moment.
Or they want to see anything else on the dashboard? That's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, Richard, thank you. Okay, no. Okay, thank you. Richard, thanks so much for taking us through LogRhythm and providing that overview. I think we'll all agree it's a very, very comprehensive solution that's provided and has got absolute depth in the way that it manages or helps you to manage your IT landscape. What I think is really powerful about it, and we've just finished off with the demonstration there, that it is very, very user-friendly. And in a very intelligent way, it gathers all that information. You can customize the dashboard to make it work for you, specific to your organization. And it's very bespoke in the way that it can manage in that way. If you do have any further thoughts or comments, please drop in, give your Nouveau account manager a call, or he'll call you, etc. But in the meantime, thank you to everybody who's joined us this morning, and look forward to speaking over the coming days. Thank you.